Funeral professionals are not paid enough money, and I was part of the problem. I'm Nathan, musician, mortician. You probably heard my songs, but I also, as a leader, am at fault because Kentucky is sadly one of the worst paying states as far as salaries for funeral professionals. Hear me out. This is why it happened. Funeral home owners did everything back then. They lived above the funeral home, beside the funeral home, in the funeral home. They waited on every family member of their community. Anyone that died, they could be mowing their yard in the front of the funeral home, and the car would be driving down the road and pull over and see that the funeral director was mowing the yard, and they'd pull out and be like, Dad just died. He would stop mowing, leave the mower in the yard, run to the transfer van and or hearse at the time in his grass-stained clothes, and then go to the place of death. He would then embalm the loved one. He would then wait on the family. He would work the visitation, stand door, empty ashtrays, and take the funeral the next day, bury, do all over again. And then he realized one day, wow, this is really exhausting. I need a little bit of help. So he hired some local help. The local helper was paid a nice, honest wage, and they did a book of the work because the funeral homeowner was realizing, wow, I've put in my time. And so that individual started to carry more of the weight. Well, that individual probably got paid a little bit more money, and they too realized that they were doing a bulk of the work and they needed more help. So then the funeral home owner, who was still getting paid the same amount of money, and this guy or gal was getting paid the same amount of money, they hired help. And they paid them just a little bit of money, and they started to throw all the tasks onto them. You see the pattern that's happening, and then that is where we are now. You have an overstaffed funeral home establishment. Any funeral home across the country, family-owned, is overstaffed, and they're not paying an honest wage, and they're doing a ton of work. How do we fix it? That's the million-dollar question, because you got yourself in a little bit of a bind. You have the owner who still is making money, as they should. They're the owner. They put in a lot of time and effort and hard work and stress, and they probably have a lot of things that they don't talk about that they experienced and or suffered, but they signed up for it, yes. And then you have those that are seasoned, the ones that have been there for a long time, that have earned their stripes and their gray hair and their grumpiness. And then you have the young pups who are saying, I'll work, I'll do all of this. I'll do it all. What will it take? And they are absolutely running themselves ragged to prove themselves, because youth, that's a whole other video. And if this is tracking, let me know in the comments below. Be like, I feel you. Write that in the comments. Be sure to subscribe, click the bell to be notified when I release content like this. If you're in the funeral profession, you probably get it. You have to earn your stripes, yes, but I do believe in fair wages. There is an opportunity for the profession to really raise the bar. Funeral home owner, what do? You have a tough decision to make. You have a lot of very tough decisions to make. You are overstaffed. You have a lot of people that work with you that you really like and care about, and I'm sure they do a really good job. But I am saying, if you're going into this funeral profession, I believe that you need to know your worth out the gate. I'm not saying that you should go in and say that you're worth $300,000, because that's ridiculous. But I do know that funeral homes in Kentucky specifically, they are paying a wage for some that is close to poverty. I don't know anybody that can get by in this economy at a $35,000 annual salary. And this is the kicker. This is the thing that's even more tough, is they're working 60, 70 hours a week. You are working 60, 70 hours a week. You're on call at night. That time, if on salary, is not necessarily accounted for. Most homes are not accounting for that. They're not offering that as overtime because, well, you're not technically going out on the death call all the time. So therefore, it's this weird thing. And funeral home owners, for the most part, have good intentions. Funeral home owners also aren't necessarily business-minded individuals. They have done a good job. They've taken care of families. So what's going to happen when the family pays the bill? They'll have money in the bank and people will keep calling them. They don't necessarily have any business savvy whatsoever. Funeral home owners were doing everything. And then as the population grew and as their business grew, they realized, wow, I'm burnt out. I need help. So they bring more on. there's a lot of balances and nuances that come into play. What I mean is there's this tough place that the profession is. It requires a lot of time and work and effort. Therefore, it should require a higher wage for those that are carrying out those tasks. And those of you who are going into this profession or considering it, this is in no way saying don't do it because you won't get paid enough. No, this is simply saying, hey, be mindful of the value that you bring. Work your ass off, yes, and realize that you do have to earn your stripes. Yes, don't go in entitled, but also realize you have a livelihood to make. You have bills yourself to pay. And don't go in there saying, oh, I just want to get my foot in the door, because then you're setting yourself up. It's a tough conversation to have, just like in the arrangement room whenever you're talking about pricing with families. And some of you are going to be defensive. Absolutely. It's tough. You've inherited it. I inherited it to a degree. We were working hard to raise the salaries, how much we were paying people, different ways in which we were bonusing people. I believe that we've got a tough conversation ahead of us with a lot of people that fill the four walls now that are carrying out the responsibilities. Maybe less salaried help, more of a pool of hourly help to call upon, requiring more from that salaried staff. In Kentucky particularly, you don't have to be a licensed director to go and receive a loved one who's passed away. 11 o'clock at night, you can have one of your licensed transporters. Yes, the funeral director, the individual who's waited on 6 families that day, who's probably standing door at visitation. Damn it, the phone rings at 11 o'clock after they've closed up and tried to go home and eat some cold spaghetti. Now they can call the transport person. That individual can receive the loved one. And then the next morning they can figure out if that funeral director is going to assist or if there's another on staff. It just is spreading the responsibility and strategically at that as far as from a salary or hourly pay standpoint. Let me know in the comments below. The conversation needs to be happening if it's not. The solution, these seasoned individuals who have grown up and have done incredible work at pioneering and paving the way for the profession, they will retire soon. Maybe that's where you thin out your staff, require more of them, offer them a more impressive wage, bring on some hired hourly as needed help. I'm passionate about it. I really am. I believe there's a solution. I know how it started. I believe that there's something here. And this will be interesting. Conversation is important. Kindness is important. I welcome your input here. I'll see you at the next video.